Levi. The sons of Levi: Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Kohath: Amram, Izhar, Hebron, and Uzziel. The children of Amram: Aaron, Moses, and Miriam. The sons of Aaron: Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Eleazar was the father of Phinehas. Phinehas the father of Abishua. Abishua the father of Buki. Buki the father of Uzi. Uzai the father of Zariah. Zariah the father of Merioth. Merioth the father of Amariah. Amariah the father of Atub. Atub the father of Zodok. Zodok the father of Ahimaaz. Ahimaaz the father of Azariah. Azariah the father of Johanan. Johanan the father of Azariah. It was he who served as priest in the temple Solomon built in Jerusalem. Azariah the father of Amariah. Amariah the father of Ahitub. Ahitub the father of Zadok. Zadok the father of Shillem. Shillem the father of Hilkiah. Hilkiah the father of Azariah. Azariah the father of Sariah, and Sariah the father of Jehozadak. Jehozadak was deported when the Lord sent Judah and Jerusalem into exile by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar. So literally, we went all the way from right before Moses to Moses, and all the way to where Israel has been. Israel has been removed from the promised land. So they entered the promised land, and now they've been removed from the promised land. And so there's quite a bit of names. You remember Moses and Aaron and Miriam back in Exodus, and how they were family, as well as Moses was selected by the Lord to lead his people from bondage, and because they had originally went down to Egypt to escape a famine, and unfortunately, after a lot of time, the Egyptians decided to utilize them and mistreat Israel, and so they ended up being eventually in captivity. So they went down on good terms, but over time that changed. And so, but they still were blessed. They were still multiplying in Egypt. And so then Moses was selected to, help free his people, and his brother Aaron went with him. And so later on, after they leave, after the Lord does all of his miracles through all the different signs, then they get to finally leave Egypt, and we also get introduced to Miriam along the way, who was there as their sister, and we also get to see just how Israel acted in the desert, or in the wilderness. We get to see that even though the Lord freed them through all of the miracles that happened, and that they got to see firsthand, they still rebelled. They still wanted to go back to Egypt. They wanted to go back into slavery, because that's what they were used to. They were too scared. They were too afraid, to the point where even when they were about to enter the promised land, and they had selected a group of representatives to go and make an account of the promised land, filled with milk and honey and new wine and such, that when the report came back and 10 of them gave a good report of the land but a bad report of the people to them, saying that they were too powerful, they decided that they weren't going to. They were too afraid, and they were too worried about going up and entering the promised land. And so that whole generation didn't get to enter the promised land, including Moses and Aaron and Miriam. They didn't get to enter. Moses was the leader, and unfortunately at one time Moses kind of let the people get to him. He really let whether his be his anger or what have you, and had a reaction to the people. And so because of that, because he struck a rock after and did not do exactly how the Lord commanded him to do, he wasn't able to enter the promised land. However, the Lord did allow him to see the promised land. And so that's when Joshua takes over after Moses. But this lineage follows the line of Moses and before him as well. And so now we kind of know, and again, in previous Bible studies, I mentioned this before, we have genealogy tests that we can take. We have DNA tests and such. I even mentioned in the previous Bible study, there's families, even now, maybe even, that still keep family tree records. I know that used to be a big thing in the recent past, 20, 30 years ago, that was a big thing. Now everybody is digitized more so. But back then they, spoke the names. They wrote them on papyrus. They wrote them on scrolls. That, they took account, and that's how they knew who was related to who, where they came from, kind of their culture. That's how they related into their culture. And so those were things that were important, and they're notated here so that we know what's going on and who and where these things come from and who was related to who and such. So there's quite a bit here. Reading over just this part, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when we read over this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think?